Hello everybody, this is Pastor Jim on our weekly tips. And this whole month of August, we're talking at the harbor about overcoming fear. And I got a scripture I just want to read to you that I've been thinking about. It's from David, King David, in Psalm 34. He said, "I sought the Lord and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears." And I've just been meditating on the kind of fears that David had experienced in his life. They weren't just the kind of worrying about gaining a few pounds or little things like that. David had to face down, when he was a young boy, lions and bears out in his father's herds of sheep. And he says that he was able to actually, with God's help, overcome them and kill them before they got the sheep. He said that was one of the things that taught him, as he saw God be with him in those situations, not to fear when he had to face Goliath. And again, I picture Goliath, and I think most of us would have a sheer reaction of terror. This was a giant professional soldier with a very sharp sword, and his whole intent was to prove himself to be stronger than anybody that the armies of God would send against him. So he was just trying to kill David. And David went very confidently up to him, and God helped and delivered him. So David faced other things too, and not just of the physical danger sort. He faced betrayal. He faced political uncertainties, his own leaders turning against him, his own sons turning against him, and not just rejecting him, but actually trying to murder him. Think about the fear and the uncertainty involved in those circumstances. And he says God was able to guide him through that and deliver him. Now, I think we need to look at the kinds of things that maybe would be equivalent to those things in our life. I think that things that are just terror-inducing in us are things like going to the doctor and hearing him make a pronouncement of some sort of a disease that's come into our life or a loved one's life suddenly, the cancer word or something like that. And maybe it's if you've never lost a job suddenly with no fault of your own, but suddenly been without an income and you don't know where to turn next. Or perhaps if you've ever had somebody threaten a lawsuit against you with all kinds of huge consequences. And I was thinking that in all these cases, there's a double edge to fear. One is it's going to cause great discomfort and pain and loss, either of the physical kind or the financial kind or the psychological and emotional kind. But the other edge is the fact that we feel like we have no control over it. And one of the things that our message this month has is that there is somebody who's big enough to have control over it. And God is insistent. He commands us. He gives us this imperative word, do not fear. And he actually expects that to be followed and has made provision for it to be followed. We're studying out of the scriptures that wonderful scripture text that says that God's given us his own spirit, a spirit of power and love and sound mind, sound thinking. And that can become our response to fear. So this week we'll be talking about the power of this irrepressible, unlimited love and what that means in overcoming fear. I want to give a shout out to a couple of people who have faced fears this month at the harbor. One is a young man named Brandon Sammy, very young guy. He went off to Student Statesman Institute with a lot of older students, and I think he was one of the youngest there and did us proud, and I know he was a great blessing to him. But I'm sure he had to face a little bit of uneasiness as he went off. Way to go, Brandon. And then there were our people who went on their missions trips to Sturgis or the Philippines for the first time. I'm sure they were nervous. They had to overcome some anxiety about new experiences. And they did it, and God used them powerfully. Way to go. Now, last thing I'm going to say is to the men, we've got a great, wonderful thing coming up here at the end of September. We're doing one of our great retreats, men's retreats. And a lot of times men are just afraid to be with other men. We're kind of a reclusive bunch. And a lot of times it's just overcoming the fear of I'm going to be there, we're going to be talking about things. And I want to just say, overcome that fear, men, and go on this retreat. It's going to be life transformational. It's going to pay off major dividends in all kinds of areas of your life. So that's another fear to overcome. So God bless you and keep you. We'll see you Sunday, and we'll overcome our fears together.